Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a new copy of Merv, The Heart of the Silk Road, a strategic city building game with mixed mechanics by Osprey Games. In Merv, you'll be taking turns placing buildings within the city to generate resources and perform an indicated action. Most actions will target a specific spot on the board where you will progress in that section, giving you some type of progression. Players will also need to protect themselves by taking the wall action to protect the city or by placing a soldier as Mongols invade and will attack the city. The game plays in 3 rounds with 4 turns in each round, giving each player 12 turns in the game. The game will ramp up as you build, and you will benefit from the sections that you work on early in the game for later in the game. Now, on your turn, you will move your Master Meeple in front of a row or a column of the 5 that are in front. You will then choose a building site to activate within that same row or column. And you can choose any site regardless if there's a building there already or not. Now, if you choose a site with no building, then you will place a new building of your own on that site. You will generate the resources from the site that you activated, plus any other sites with buildings of the same color within the same row or column. Each building will generate 1 resource of a type shown on that tile. If there is an upgrade tile, then it generates 1 cube of that color shown on that upgrade tile, in addition to the cube that it normally produces. Or, with the upgrade tile, you will take the white cube, which is a wild resource. Now, if the activated building site has another player's building on it, then they will also receive the resources, which is all the resources that the primary site normally produces, and any resources from the upgrade tiles that are placed on any other of the buildings in that row or column. But they won't receive any resources indicated by the other building sites themselves. This way they will benefit a little bit, but not as much as you might benefit. Lastly, the active player will perform an action. The player can choose one of 3 options. They can decide to gain 1 favor moving their marker on this track here. They can deploy a soldier, placing it on one of their sites to protect it against the Mongol raids. Or the third option is to perform the board action depicted on the activated building site. This third action might also guide players as to which site they want to activate when first choosing an action slot and a building site at the beginning of their turn. And these different board actions will correspond with the different areas on the board. In addition, there are contracts laid out on the side of the board, and at any time during your turn, if you're able to, you can complete a contract. But you must be able to complete it by passing the required influence level on the influence track and having the required resources to complete it. Each stack of contracts are the same, but the first player to complete one will gain more points than players who complete them later in the game. Once every player takes a turn, all Master Meeples get moved to the next corner going clockwise. But order matters, and this is a little tricky to understand. You will start with the Master Meeple furthest behind, and you'll move them to the furthest slot of the queue as there are players. In a 3-player game, this will be moved to slot number 3. The player then has a choice. If they want, or if they can spend 1 camel token to move up 1 space, or even use 2 camels to move up 2 spaces. If this player decides not to use any camels, they will take that 3rd slot, and then the next Meeple furthest back is moved to the queue slot number 2, and the closest Meeple will go to the 1st slot. But going back to if the player decides to use a camel to move to slot 2, then the next player will get pushed back to slot 3 unless they want to use a camel to get to slot 1. And if they do, they will place their camel on slot 3 and they will go to slot 1 to be first in the next round. And then that last player will then not go to the first slot, but to the last slot, but they will also get any camel tokens left on the slot that they land on. And this would also happen if the second Meeple decided to take slot number 3. Anyways, that's how you're going to take your turn, is you're going to move your Meeple, you're going to pick the site, you're going to get the resource, and you're going to pick your action. Let's go over some of these actions that are listed on the tiles. This icon means gain favor. This is the favor track here, and you will be able to move your token 1 space. This is your political currency, which is used to score points from the palace. Whenever you move your marker past a space with a number printed above it, you will score those points. When scoring in the palace, you can move back 1 space to score one of your courtiers, which I will explain when I go over the palace section. This icon means deploy a soldier. You place one of your servant meeples on a building site with a building. You cannot place a soldier on a site with one already placed, one with an upgrade on it, or a site that is already protected from invasion by the walls. When deploying a soldier, you will gain 1 influence, and if you place the soldier on another player's site, then you will gain 2 influence. This icon here is the Caravansary. There are 8 cards placed out. Players will pay resources to pick up these cards. You can spend any number of resource cubes, but they must be the same color, or the white being wild. And for each resource spent, you can take a card, one at a time. But you can only take a card with a camel on top of it, or the first card without a camel. If you want to get cards further in the road, then you will need to add camel tokens to widen the available cards. But you should also know that you can only ever take or keep in front of you as many different spices or types of cards as allowed by your influence level. This is the influence track, and these spots will let you increase the different types of spices that you can hold. In the game, you're trying to make sets of different spices. One of each type will score you 10 points, as you can see by looking at the score chart here. Also, whenever a player collects a pair of the same type of spice cards, they will receive the spice boon listed on that card. 2 ginger cards will let you deploy a soldier. 2 juniper cards will let you gain 1 favor. A pair of cinnamon cards will let you gain a white cube. And a pair of pepper cards will let you immediately place a white upgrade on a building site. Upgrades can be put on sites with a soldier on there, but if so, the soldier will be discarded. This icon is the palace. Here you will place any number of servant meeples to become courtiers, and you will place them in any open slot. The first courtier that you place in the entire game costs 1 resource cube. The second costs 2, and the third costs 3, and so on. At the end of each of the 3 rounds, there is a scoring phase where you will spend 1 favor for each courtier that you have in the palace, and then you will score the points associated with that slot. This hall here will score points for scrolls that you have earned. This one for caravan cards that you have. This one for goods. And this one for the position that you are on the Mosque track. This icon is the library. Here you will spend up to 4 resource cubes, but each cube needs to be of a different color. Although multiple white cubes would be okay. For each resource that you spend, you will gain a scroll. When gaining your 2nd, 4th, 6th, or 8th scroll, you make a breakthrough. Scrolls are used to complete contracts and also to gain extra bonuses, like when you gain your 2nd, your 4th, your 6th, or your 8th scroll, then you make a breakthrough. You will find that corresponding pile of whatever breakthrough that you make, and you can look through the tiles and choose one of those that you would like, as each has a different boon giving you a unique bonus. Throughout the game, you'll only be able to earn 1 boon from each pile, but they will become better and better as the game goes on and as you progress getting more scrolls. This icon is the marketplace. You will put a disc in one of the cities to establish a trading route. The first route that you establish needs to be one of the inner cities, but later you can establish more routes with other inner cities or an outer city that is connected to your route. Other players can establish a trading post in the same cities as you, and you in the same as other players, but the first to do so in the inner cities will gain the camel placed there, which is its bonus, and the first to establish a route to the outer cities will gain 1 favor. You can then buy up to 1 common good from any of the inner cities that are listed in that city that you have a route to, or a rare good from any of the outer cities where you have a trading post, or you can place a camel on a route to gain access to that city to trade to for that turn only, and that camel will then be moved and placed on the Caravansary, one of the spice cards that is next in line. The common goods or rare goods that you get in this place can be used to fulfill contracts. This icon is the Mosque. You will pay the shown resources to move your token up on that track. At the beginning, you will get to choose which track that you want to start on. After moving your token, then you will advance, paying the resources listed to advance, and then each level that you move up on will give you a bonus that can help you with your strategy. I won't go through all the bonuses listed here, but they're pretty easy to get and can help you during the game. This icon is the wall. You can buy as many wall pieces as you would like, paying the type and number of resources shown next to that wall piece that you want to purchase. Gates are more expensive and can only be placed in the middle sections of the board. When you buy these, they are placed on the board to block the Mongol raids in that direction that you're placing them. And when placing the wall piece, you will gain 1 influence for each of your own buildings that is either next to the wall or is in the second position in the same row or column as that wall that you placed. You will gain 2 influence for each of another player's buildings that is one or both of those spots near the wall. Remember, when moving your influence, you will gain points listed on the track when passing it, and in addition, you'll make it so that you can hold different types of spice cards. Players will each take 4 turns and then the scoring phase occurs. Then each player will take 4 more turns with players going around the board, and then an invasion from the Mongols will attack from each side. They attack the first 2 building sites from each side of the board. If a site has a soldier, then that site is protected. If there is a gate, it will protect an attack in that row or column in that direction. If not protected and attacked, the player will either lose the building or they can choose to pay a ransom of a resource type that matches that site. After attacks have been resolved, the scoring phase occurs again for the second time, and after 4 more turns, then the last round will occur. Remember, there's 12 total turns, so you will do the same thing with the Mongol attacks at the very end and then score for the last time. The game ends after that last scoring phase, and all in-game points are counted up from your caravan cards, and depending on the sets that you have collected of the different type of spices, you will score different points. The player then with the most points will win the game. This game is a great Euro game with multiple ways to victory, and there is no direct player interaction, but some intense indirect interaction between players. The game is quick to learn and understand. The game allows different combos to come into effect in different games because the tiles are randomized each game, as well as the spice cards. This will, with time, guide your strategy, but every time you play, you will need to react to the board and what other players are doing. And other players will get in your way. They will make moves that you were going to take or beat you to some bonuses, so planning or re-evaluating your strategy is key. You will only have 12 turns in the game, so in a way you can plan out some things that you want to do during the game. Lots of people like to visit the Mosque and do the Mosque action as it unlocks a lot of easy bonuses, but other areas on the board can rack up points and bonuses, sometimes even better than what the Mosque will do. But there are so many different strategies that you can focus on. You can do one area and almost ignore all others, or you can do a little of each, spreading things out. The game is connected together very nicely. You're picking what color resource cubes that you want, as well as what action you want to take. And if they don't line up, then you become less efficient in how you play the game, and you risk losing the game. But if you're able to get the resources that you want and take the actions that you want, you will do better playing more efficiently. Anyways, I really like the game. After playing it a couple times, you can get through a game in an hour. It looks great on the table, and it will always keep your mind spinning as to what might be the best move. I'm excited to see what else Fabio Lopiano is working on, as this one is a huge hit. So gain power and wealth in the heart of the Silk Road with your family and friends in Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road by Osprey Games. Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.